Hello and welcome as we head into the first day of December 2017. One more month left in the year. My name is Derek and welcome. Hashtag crypto trading video. I'm not going to talk about charts for a little while because I first want to talk about the Big Bang Theory. And I mean the television episode, not billions of years ago. And I then want to talk about Coinbase. And then I want to talk about hardware wallets. And then we'll get into the charts. For the first time ever in my life, tonight I watched more than 5 consecutive cumulative minutes of the show. And it's interesting because within the show there was a line about how Sheldon could boycott something, and he said something bad to like when he was in preschool, like he could. And you know what, people have told me that I remind him of him, and I've been boycotting that show since it begun for some stupid reason, because I was looking forward to that show when it came out because it was called The Big Bang Theory, and I am an advocate fan of the actual Big Bang Theory from 15 billion years ago. So it was kind of like, oh man, that's not it's got nothing to do about the Big Bang Theory. That sucks. That was my thinking way back when it started. But then I was told tonight at around 8:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that it was a show about Bitcoin. So I watched the entire episode from that point on, missing the first couple minutes or so. And if you don't want any spoilers, you can fast forward a little bit. But I'm sure... well, whatever. I'm not going to give out too much that's really any relevant. It's all fictional TV anyway. But the episode was about the people trying to locate some Bitcoin that they knew they had. Now, I didn't watch the first 2 minutes, but it was Bitcoin that they had mined back in the year 2010. And it was placed on a computer, and I guess it's just been sitting there. And I guess now that they know the prices are so high, they wanted to get it. So they tried to find it, tried to figure out what happened. They found out it was on a different computer, tried to find that computer, finally figure out where it is. And then the Bitcoins aren't on there. They're gone. And they figure, oh, it was put on a flash drive, not any type of hardware wallet, although technically it kind of is. But it was put on the flash drive, a regular USB drive. And, well, somebody deleted it, so the USBs, the Bitcoins rather, are gone. And there's another subject I want to talk about, deleted Bitcoins. That's going to be another one of the subjects that I talk about as well. And what I found very, very interesting is because people have been telling me, oh, you're a lot like Sheldon. I haven't even seen 5 seconds of a young Sheldon episode yet. But they were wondering, well, what could have been done? And the answer to that was you had a situation where something happened to your flash drive, your USB drive. That's why private keys are very important. If you know, like for myself, I own gold and silver and I have to protect them. So just with the exact same mindset of protecting the gold and silver, you protect your private keys. But the fact that there actually was an episode on the mainstream TV, and what I gotta think is, I don't know how popular these shows are. I know Friends was really popular back in the day, and Cheers was really popular back before then. I don't know how popular it is. It's been on, I think, for like 75 years, or realistically 15, or I don't know how long. 10, 12, at least a decade. So it's got to be a very, very popular show. For them to actually put an episode dedicated to Bitcoin, very, very interesting. I gotta say, just that is magnificent. I've actually watched a few CNBC videos of recent times, and they're talking about how Coinbase has been getting a major influx of like tens of thousands of people a day kind of increases. It's just phenomenally large. And there's really not too many people, I feel, that are into Bitcoin. And I can remember the internet back in 1995. It was actually 1994. I went to school in Toronto, and I'm at my school, George Brown College. And as I'm into the campus, I look a couple computer rooms. I'm trying to find the internet, literally. I really couldn't find much. I go to a different school the year after, and I go to the computer lab. May I point out, singular. I go to the public computer lab. There's only one. Things are changing a lot nowadays. And after going into the lab, I was very much amazed to go to web pages, just tsn.ca, which was it's a Canadian sports channel. There wasn't too many pages I could think of or will go to, but pretty cool. And the internet was fast. It was like really, really fast as well. Although you really didn't have much to compare it to, at least not yet I didn't. And then as that year went on, I noticed internet chat programs, and man, that was pretty cool. Another year or so goes by, and now I get the internet at home. And then I learned what dial-up internet was, and wow, was that ever slow. But as I look at it, Bitcoin in the year 2010-ish was like the internet in 1991, 92-ish, the very beginning on a public level. And then Bitcoin has had many years now, as the internet had many years post-92. When 1995, 96, 97 rolled around for the internet, there was a decent size increase in people. So as I'm looking at Bitcoin, I'm looking at 1995 is comparable to like 2012, 2013. And I'm looking at now as comparable to like 1996 to 1997. Not too many people back then, but a decent amount used the internet. Today, not too many people, but a decent amount interact within Bitcoin. And at this stage, when you say stuff like Bitcoin's in a bubble, and I'm going to change that now to cryptocurrency in a bubble. That's like saying that electricity was in a bubble in 1912. Or that's like saying the internet was in a bubble in 1996. The telephones or cell phones were in a bubble back in the 1990s. When a new technology comes in, it can take some time for it to spread through, but when it does, it can spread through like mad. Or like when you look at the internet in 2000, 2004, 2007, how that thing was just growing like no other. And I made the prediction back in 1997 the internet was going to be a major thing. 20 years later, I'm saying the same thing with cryptocurrencies. So when I talk about upside prices over the next 3, 4, or 5 years, and I've heard the people talking about much higher Bitcoin prices. I've heard about a $500,000 bet by Mr. McAfee. I've heard about the Max Kaisers and Bitcoin going million, 2, 5, even $10 million. And I sort of have to agree, because I don't know if Bitcoin is going to survive in that time, but I think the cryptocurrencies are going to flourish big time. So whether Bitcoin can outperform its competition, well, that will be left in time. It's like the internet. It's anything affiliated within the internet back in 1995 and 96, 97, and so on and so forth moving forward. Some of it is going to flourish at that time. Amazon did pretty good. And some of it, of course, would not. And then some would look to do really good and hang in there. Yahoo, for example. So another quick topic I want to go over is how many Bitcoins are there actually intangible, real, active circulation, and hodlers, holders that are just buying and holding and they know they're holding it, they're active. And how many Bitcoins have been deleted from the real world? You lose your private key. There's no way that those Bitcoins or whatever other coins are in there could ever be recovered. If something happens to your computer, and even to say even people who pass away, if no one knows how to get them, they're gone. And this is an answer I don't know if we could ever really find out, but it does bring an interesting situation that when people analyze how much Bitcoin is worth based on the fact that there's 16 million, there's probably a good chance that well over 10 to 20% of them are practically dead coins. Now I want to talk about Coinbase next for a little bit, as I've been hearing over a large amount of people continuously signing up per day within that site. It's a tremendous, tremendous high number. And when you see active participations of the amount of people every day joining, and really for that matter, buying Bitcoin for the first time. And we'll even forget about the people whom are consistently, every time they get paid or every other time they get paid, they just buy Bitcoin. We'll throw those people aside because, well, they're part of this as well too, but people buy for the first time. That's going to be driving these prices higher. That's following the money. That's market behavior. And obviously interest for such is coming into play. And I've talked about the fourth week of December, or better known as well as Christmas, coming up. Well, that's going to cause a lot of conversations, a lot of gift exchanges, a lot of ideas and thoughts circulating many millions of people's brains all throughout North America, many parts of Europe, Australia, China, Japan, and just so many other parts in the world as well. And of course, yeah, a lot of them maybe don't celebrate it, but with Hanukkah and many other celebrations at this time, a lot of people do. And it doesn't matter what the holiday is. It's just the fact that they're getting together and talking. And it's a situation where people who normally don't hang out together that often will do so more around this time frame. Christmas parties are now going to be coming up on a week-by-week basis. It's going to be an interesting month as far as human awareness and consciousness towards Bitcoin. Now, for myself, I have replaced Coinbase. Coinbase used to be almost like my base account. It used to be like the the net teller of old, where any accounts, my gambling funds or so, I would say, that's where I would place it if I was doing any type of withdrawals. And in Bitcoin, that's just using it as money. I would do such from Coinbase. But I know you can trade there, but I would rather trade on other exchanges. There, for me, is no use for Coinbase. For the idea that I like to just hold Bitcoins on some other place, LiteCoins now as well, I can do that on a hardware wallet. In fact, I've been thinking over the last few days that there's a decent chance as we move into 2018, well into 2018 at least, with the smart contracts that LiteCoin has, where you can pretty much exchange Litecoins for Bitcoins back and forth, that might be the way I trade, and I can do so while they stay in the hardware wallet possession kind of deal. That would be fantastic. So anyway, what do I want to talk about in this video? Well, I'm going to talk about my LiteCoin strategy. Yeah, now that I say that, I'm also going to be talking about how this thing could be finding support amongst this level. Could be. We'll see. And if it does, that would be truly phenomenal, because we're looking for a setup more than anything within that. I think more importantly, holding the trend line really isn't the biggest important thing. The last key level in which it came from, which is like the 7,000 to 8,000 range in here, that would be a key area. But again, I gotta say this over and over again, I think that the 5,000 area might not be out of the woods for any type of decent retracements that may come. And when I say that, one in which has a significant move below the daily time frame, it's going to come, but it might not come until the price action goes over 20 or 30,000. You never know on that. That's what makes it an interesting game, to say the least. But whatever the market does, it's going to do. And I want to now talk about my thinking towards LiteCoin, and it would work really well, especially if the smart contracts that I've been hearing is in place. So let me bring in a LiteCoin chart crossed with the United States dollar. And what I have done is I've inserted the weekly time frame, which goes back to the summer of 2014, so a little greater than 3 years of time. And I've adjusted the scaling so that you can see over $1,000 on the upper hand, as well as a lot of time on the right hand side that would take us towards the end of the upcoming year. And I'm going over my basic playbook that I think I want to execute aggressively, especially now that I have like 35% more LiteCoin than I was planning on owning many a weeks ago. As I've stated before a couple times, I think there's a decent chance that 2018 will have a floor somewhere within this area around $100. And I wouldn't be surprised if on a break that this thing could actually reach some high level up towards here. But I'm also, and I hate to say this because you're trying to predict things that on so many different unique levels, and you really have nothing to go on it that's like so amazing. But this is just what I'm thinking. There's a good chance that we'll see some pretty wild seesaws like this throughout the year of 2018. That my plan is to be an extreme aggressive seller on LiteCoin on any prices near and above $500. And then be a very aggressive buyer of LiteCoin at around 250 and lower. That, I think, is the plan in which I want to execute for next year. And all of the sells that come in here. Now, I'm not going to be selling them in dollars, but I would be using this chart as a reference point to help me engage when it's a good time to be an aggressive seller. Because in my view, if you are doing such in here, I think you're making a mistake, especially for the long-term thinking. It's just like saying be an aggressive seller in here. After that nice large move, it had a much larger gain. And I know based on the fact that when it had its gain earlier this year, LiteCoin that is, it was much lower on the market cap. And because it's like number 7 or something, it could be a little bit limited. But if it shared the last gain, we're talking over $1,000 within such as well. And I do find it interesting in the just simple mathematics when you look at the supply of LiteCoin to Bitcoin, which LiteCoin is about 4 times greater. And just the simple math saying, well, if LiteCoin was just as good as Bitcoin, it should be about under $2,500 now. And that's something to think about. And even if you say even 10% is what one might think, and I do think, could be a very reasonable number, at least as we move into the later parts of next year. So yeah, that's basically what I'm looking to do. Sell LiteCoin for Bitcoin. But if I could do it with some sort of like the smart contracts where I can do the exchanges that way, then this is a spot where I turn a lot more into Bitcoin. Then I see the price going down. Oh, now I'll use the smart contracts to do the opposite. Turn my Bitcoin back into LiteCoin this way as the prices come back down towards here. And there's always going to be a lot of different factors, and I of course am always going to be trading that basic strategy that I talk about, where assuming you wanted to get in now, normally I would say you never want to get in on the strategy too much when the market's high, unless there's a good bullish breakout pattern forming. And quite frankly, I know it's harder to see on this because I've shrunk it, and I'll put up this in a little bit. But there is a decent breakout pattern, I believe, because it looks like it's about to break this resistance to those levels I've talked about. But the idea is, if you're just to start now, you buy decently at this point. Maybe put a buy order in here, put a buy order here, maybe one here, and then you put a sell order, say, in here, and in here, and in here, and just keep on going as far as the volatility that you want. You can do this on short-term levels, long-term levels, and so on and so forth. But that I'm always going to execute within it, but holding more back to be more aggressive to sell at the higher amounts. And then, of course, looking to be more aggressive to buy back when it gets lower as well. Now, a lot of it will be based on the Bitcoin price as well and the LiteCoin cross within Bitcoin. So let's now take a look at this chart without seeing any of this here, so we can just see this stuff a little bit better. And now we can see that as this pattern is lying through or in place after making this high and a beautiful correction with several periods within this rising 18 average, that this statement period, yes, it's a statement. It's saying, okay, it's done the correctionary phase. We have doing that, thus a correction correctly. Market's not heading lower, we're heading higher. And then it follows through by breaking out to this point. So the whole basic thing, and a high probability also, I think, to do such, is to hold key previous resistance levels that it recently encountered, which is in this area in here, and also the situation of having a clear breakout, something you want to take very, very seriously, because mathematically, probability speaking, especially if we have maybe 2-3 more weeks where it just gives us more further nice looking setup status, where maybe it's supporting the 18 average of highs, and then you see price action 130, 40, 50, 60. You got to now start thinking about $300, $400, $500 seriously. That's how sick these cryptocurrency markets are, and there's more high probability for those wild moves when you look for these types of setups to happen around situations in which it's showing. And oh my goodness, we're around 25 minutes, but not, I think a good video to talk about, now what do I want to name it? Basically just a bunch of chitter chat about Bitcoin and LiteCoin strategy. So that's what the name is, but you already knew that because you can read such. Therefore, thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.